All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about something Terence Crawford's team says may happen if we do not get the big fights that we want to see between he and Terence and Errol Spence or JERMELL Charlo. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be in the 147-pound division, speaking about one of the greatest 147-pounders that I have seen in my lifetime, or fighters really that I've seen in my lifetime, and that is Terence Bud Crawford, the WBO 147-pound champion. Recently, a team member of his gave us insight about what was going on with him in the Errol Spence Jr. negotiation and shared something that I thought was quite disturbing and do not hope is the case. Now, before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a longtime subscriber and supporter to the channel, thank you so much for your ongoing support. It really does mean a lot. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos, which we do on a daily basis in the live stream and the video format. Always good conversations to be had on the channel. So let's get into this. Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford are still in a negotiation to make the biggest fight in boxing for the IBF, the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO welterweight championships of the world. And not quite sure what is going to happen with it. Been a lot of words that it's almost done, nearly done, not much, barely anything left to get together, to negotiate. Then different times you hear people say, it's over 50-50. But the one thing that continues to be constant is the clock keeps on ticking. It is now, the middle of August. Hopefully we will be able to hear something about it soon. However, Bernie the Boxer, who I always quote from Terence Crawford's camp, because he's really the most reliable person out of, that we hear speak on a consistent basis out of Terence Crawford's camp about what is going on, shared a revelation about Terence Crawford's mindset that makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, man, I certainly hope it's not true. And that is, it may be time for him to retire if he cannot get the fight with Errol Spence Jr. or JERMELL Charlo. Now, as you know, Terence Crawford is 34, going on 35 years old. He's been a professional. He's been in the welterweight division since 2017. So, what is that? 5 years, probably a 15-year pro at this point in time. Very, very long, very distinguished career, lightweight champion, undisputed champion at 140 pounds. Now, very long reigning 147-pounder. And it seems as if, and this is what he said himself, that, he is really looking for things that are going to be exceptional accomplishments in his career. He's probably not of the mindset to be fighting different journeymen, right? Different contenders and things like that, or, who are trying to prove themselves, right? He's in that same that same age group as Sean Porter is, and Danny Garcia is, and Keith Thurman are, right? The guys that, are really, getting to that age where they are either going to become food for younger fighters, or they're going to retire, right? And so Sean Porter was the first one that said, look, I'm not going to be food for these for these guys. He fought for the WBO belt, lost against Terence Crawford, but retired even before that. So, if Terence Crawford doesn't get the Errol Spence Jr. fight, if he doesn't get the JERMELL Charlo fight next, Bernie the Boxer may be right, and he may just step aside, because there's also the things you should, to take into consider. Like, if he doesn't fight those guys, what is he going to do? That's really been the big question for everybody, right? It says, look, Errol Spence Jr. can go to 154. He can fight a bunch of different PBC fighters. If Errol Spence Jr. wanted to leave the PBC for some reason, Top Rank and ESPN would take him in a heartbeat. DAZN would take him in a heartbeat, right? He pretty much has his choice of where he will want to go and the things that he wants to do. And that is not the case with Terence Crawford, where, DAZN has, or at least Eddie Hearn out of DAZN has said, look, we don't know what we do with Terence Crawford. We don't have any fights for him. Bob Arum and he are maybe in a lawsuit, may not be in a lawsuit. Don't really know what's going on with that at this point in time. Last I heard, Terence Crawford had not refiled his lawsuit against Bob Arum in state court. Doesn't mean that he's not going to refile the lawsuit. Who knows? He may be trying to amend it. Who knows what's going on with that? But just not a lot of places for him to go. So, if he's not able to get the fight with JERMELL Charlo, Keith Thurman, that very well may be what he does. Now, as far as the thing with JERMELL Charlo, his idea of fighting JERMELL Charlo is definitely a ways off, because in order to get that fight, he would have to exercise the WBO mandatory, right? The WBO mandatory for the super championship. Sorry, I had to cut out for a second. I have my wife and my daughter about to go catch a plane, so needed to make sure that I say goodbye to them before, before they left. But regardless, not a lot of places for Terence Crawford to go. But look, if he does retire, man, first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion. Excellent career. Like I've said to a lot of people, talking about Terence Crawford inside, the conversation about who's going to win between him and Errol Spence Jr. and all of that fight is one thing. But I still have tremendous respect for the man and what he's accomplished in a boxing ring, what he's done, the entertainment that he's given me in the sport. And it would be a sad thing to see him step away so early. But again, like he would not be the first. You had Andre Ward, who, very unexpectedly retired some years ago after at the very height of his career, after having beaten Sergey Kovalev for the second time and really beating him in like devastating fashion. That fight, after that fight, Andre Ward stepped aside and retired. And there's been some other things, that Terence Crawford has said, that is, where he talked about his own son and whether he'd have his son box or something. He's like, no, man, or whether he'd have him do UFC. And he's like, no way, too much punishment. And plus, you don't want to take all that damage on your head. Terence Crawford's also got to worry about that, because no matter how many times you spar and how good you are getting hit in the head. You are getting your head wrong. So I'm sure, at this age, with the money that he's made, seemingly being a very frugal person and a responsible person with his money, he very well may be like, hey, man, that's enough for me. And it also may be why he's pushing so hard, seemingly pushing so hard on the money for Errol Spence Jr., saying, look, man, in order to fight me, I need to get the most money I possibly can get. Otherwise, hey, man, I don't really need the fight like that. And he may be very, very much willing to walk away. But anyway, what it is what it is. Just wanted to share you that's what Bernie the Boxer said. He did say that an in-between fight, your tune-up fights in between, are not what they're looking for. So, it may be, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., JERMELL Charlo, or bust for Terence Crawford. And that would be a loss in the sport of boxing, because that man is an excellent fighter. Anyway, it is what it is. That's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. With that, I'm out. Peace.